I'm just going to start tomorrow. How many times have you said that to yourself? That kind of thinking defined my life, from weight management to bill paying to organizing my house and my life. I knew how to put things off like the best of them. So what happened? I lived in a state of perpetual chaos and self-loathing, never feeling like I was moving forward in my life. In fact, I was drowning in my own inability to get started or keep going. If you're experiencing any of the start it tomorrow blues I am talking about, you are going to love today's Thin Thinking episode where I interview Dr. Christine Lee, productivity coach and expert. She is going to discuss the 3 big mistakes that we are making when it comes to being productive or getting productive. So grab that to-do list and come on in. Did you know that our struggle with weight doesn't start with the food on your plate or get fixed in the gym? 80% of our weight struggle is mental. That's right. The key to unlocking long-term weight release and management begins in your mind. Hi there, I'm Rita Black. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, weight loss expert, best-selling author, and the creator of the Shift Weight Mastery process. And not only have I helped thousands of people over the past 20 years achieve long-term weight mastery, I am also a former weight struggler, carb addict, and binge eater. And after 2 decades of failed diets and fad weight loss programs, I lost 40 pounds with the help of hypnosis. Not only did I release all that weight, I have kept it off for 25 years. Enter the Thin Thinking podcast where you too will learn how to remove the mental roadblocks that keep you struggling. I'll give you the thin thinking tools, skills, and insights to help you develop the mindset you need, not only to achieve your ideal weight, but to stay there long term and live your best life. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. You look like you want to come in, so don't be shy. Come on in. And welcome. I'm so excited that you are here today. Oh, we have got such a great guest for you. Dr. Christine Lee is joining us. She has been on this show before, and she got such great reviews from people. We brought her back in for more of her productivity genius. So I'm excited. Before we dive in, I want to remind you guys that March, we have a contest going on. I want to give you the opportunity to not only get yourself a free hypnosis download, but also to enter into the contest. We are running through the month of March to receive a free, enrollment in the upcoming spring 2023 Shift Weight Mastery process that will be going on in the month of May. That's an online process that is guided by me, and I love it. We have one twice a year, so we do it in the spring and the fall. So you would be getting a free seat in that 30-day process. It's a great process. We use hypnosis, meditation. It's all about letting go of the weight struggle and moving into long-term, permanent weight release success. So all you need to do is to, on your favorite podcast platform, write us a review. Take a screenshot and send it to me, Rita, at shiftweightmastery.com. And we will send you a coupon for that free download. So you get that right away. And then you will be entered in to the podcast drawing at the end of March. Well, actually at the beginning of April. And we will announce the winner. So exciting. So, and I'm really excited here in the U.S. I know daylight savings happens at different times or not at all in different areas of the world. But this weekend, we had our daylight saving on Sundays. So that means that the days are getting longer. I know I lost a little sleep, which was a bummer. But I love the fact that I have more hours at the end of my workday to be out in my yard because I love that. I have so much gardening to catch up on. March is such a big month here in Southern California as far as like getting everything in and fertilizing and mulching and weeding and it's just a big long list. But it's been really cold here and it's been really rainy here, so I've put that off and I put it up and I am not going to do it today. I'll do it tomorrow. More and more. And haven't you ever noticed the longer your to-do list is, the less you want to do it? So I noticed that for many people, the pandemic actually made this lack of getting doneness even worse. Did you know that the Bureau of Labor Statistics found that Americans spend an average of 8.9 hours per day on work-related activities, but only 5.3 of those hours are spent on primary work activities? Interesting, huh? So many people have been reaching out to me for help. So that is why I'm very, very glad to have Dr. Christine Lee back to speak with us about productivity. You may remember her. We had her on last year. She spoke to us about procrastination, but now we are meeting procrastination's opposite, productivity. And just to introduce the lovely Dr. Christine Lee, she has been working as a New York-based clinical psychologist for the past 20 years. More recently, she has been taking her work online as the procrastination coach. She helps people who are struggling with underperforming at work and at home to work smoothly and with high levels of productivity. Her unique coaching process is a blend of mindset strategy, time and emotion management tips, and a deep belief in the power we each have when we treat ourselves with good love and self-care. Dr. Lee is the author of the book 5-Minute Self-Discipline Exercises, Stay Motivated, Cultivate Good Habits, and Achieve Your Goals, and is the host of the podcast Make Time for Success. Follow Dr. Lee to learn how to ditch the guilt, judgment, self-sabotaging, and unhelpful habits so that you can feel focused and fulfilled in your life. And her coaching work was featured in Oprah's Favorite Things issue of 2022 in a piece that focused on coaches with a fresh take. Not only is she here today, but she has also a free online event coming up. The Power Productivity Bootcamp is a 5-day live training event where bootcamp attendees will learn how to develop success mindset, the 4-part system for creating success, strategies for developing true commitment to your goals, and ways to activate your highest potential in fulfilling your highest goals. Oh, that's a tongue twister. The Power Productivity Bootcamp is a fun, engaging experience, complete with the opportunity to receive live coaching from Dr. Lee and a celebration party at the end of the bootcamp experience to highlight your wins. So to register for this free event that began on Tuesday, March 21st, 2023, go to the show notes and sign up, or you can go straight to HTTPS, that little signal sign, procrastinationcoach.com/Rita. That's procrastinationcoach.com/Rita, and sign up for the free productivity bootcamp. All right, now let's go meet Dr. Lee. Hey everyone, I am so excited because we are bringing back Dr. Christine Lee. I don't know if you heard our last podcast with Dr. Christine, but it was one of the most popular podcasts I think we've had on the Thin Thinking podcast. So today we have Dr. Christine, and she's going to talk to us about the 3 mistakes that we make when it comes to being productive. Welcome back. So happy to see you.
Great
here.
to see you too. Thank you so much, Rita. I love working with you and seeing you again. Thank you so much for inviting me
Yes.
back.
Oh my gosh, I am so happy to have you back. I have a sense of you have such a calming voice, and whenever I think of you, I just think of, Dr. Christine.
Well, I feel the same about you. I'm always eager to listen to whatever's coming out of your mouth. It's either completely brilliant or completely hysterical
Oh,
and
well,
and so
that's
real. So I appreciate all the different sides of you. Thank you, Rita.
oh, well, thank you. And I know that what you do for people, which is like help them create order out of their universes, is such a great gift. So, how did you get into just, for those listeners who don't know about you so much, can you tell us your journey into, well, productivity and procrastination? Those are what you would call your genius zone, although you're a genius in many ways, but this is how you really help people. And so tell us a little bit about your pain points and your journey into how you help people now.
Yeah, I have multiple pain points that I've been through, still struggle with, still know, and still teach about. And I have one of my changes that I've been able to make is to now enjoy reflecting on things like pain points and knowing that I can learn from them and actually use what I learn to then teach a few people right away. I
Right.
tend to love to think about, wow, why did I do that? How did that turn out that way? Why are people doing this? Why are they talking to me in this way? Why are they talking to themselves in this way? I think much like you are curious as well. And thankfully, I have found through many different people and podcasts and books and experiences ways to be much more kind to myself. One of my pain points was being absolutely brutal with myself in terms of that inner voice, the self-criticism, the feeling like I was always on the verge of my next failure, even though there really weren't many failures to really point towards as evidence that there would be a next failure. So I
Right.
think anxiety was also buried in there too. I would have always been a very optimistic, positive person, but I think there were many, many years of my life where anxiety was also on the scene. And I'm very, very grateful that that is no longer the case. I most days feel very calm, very serene, very clear in my brain. And I feel that as a result of all of that healing, and it has been multi-layered, as a result of that healing, my focus, my ability to be productive and to think creatively has just improved so much that there's just no comparison of what I can do now to what I could even do in graduate school when I was working day and night and needing to really be creative and thoughtful. I think I've been through probably 2 PhDs worth of thought about all this work about productivity and procrastination, but it's all been so worth it.
Yeah, so your schooling and your life has been one big schoolroom for you with regards to productivity. And so would you say the root of or one of those things getting in your way was perfectionism? I mean, would you say that or is that not something that was in the way?
For me, not so much. And that is because I think grew up with a sense of myself as I was the mess up. I was the person who would be rolling to school after no sleep, and kids would write satirical essays about that in English class. And it was just my identity. It was my literal identity that people knew that I was this way. I knew that I was this way. And I did not know that there was any way that I could be any different. So in some ways, there was this kind of acceptance that this was me, right? It's as
Right.
simple as saying my hair is black and it's always been black, or actually it's turning these days, but But I really felt that this was just solidly me. This was my personality. This was my style. This was my sense of timing and the way I
Right.
handled things like deadlines. And I think I was really stuck in these desperate cycles of struggle and late nights and stress, and having stress be my productivity. That more than
Right.
words on pages, I was able to generate stress that would spill over to other people and cause a lot of other types of difficulty in my life. Lateness, illness during graduate school, that was quite
Mm,
significant. Loss of experiences because just I didn't really feel like I had the time to enjoy myself as other people seem to be able to do. So, and
yeah.
the procrastinators in our audience will know what I'm talking about. There is really this sense that you need to sacrifice all the joy when you don't know how to put things together in a timely way. And you can hear in my voice that I'm just so I feel so strongly about teaching other people that it really is not your personality and it's not fixed. And you
Mm.
should really be able to enjoy your life. That's actually key. That's a really key part of avoiding procrastination and finding your brain again. I think this is probably a search for your brain.
It's so interesting how the cycles we get into, you with the procrastination, me with weight, uh, and the cure is actually the exact opposite of what we think. And we're always beating ourselves up and perpetuating that cycle. So if we flipped it on its head and said, okay, I want to be productive, and and with all your patients and students in your courses, uh what are the main, we're all banging our heads against the wall trying to be more and more productive. I mean, just this week myself, I have a big list of things to do. I have podcasts to make. I have students, and it always seems like I don't make time, like I don't get it all done. I'm always running behind. So I would love to learn more about being productive, but you're saying the first step is like kind of clearing the way, getting what are these mistakes that we're making that get in the way of our being our most productive or best selves.
I feel like starting with the topic of perfectionism that you alluded to, although I
Mhm.
don't feel like I've really struggled with that in a big way because of my sense that I just can't do anything right. I do feel that perfectionism is a big mistake that a lot of people do make, and a lot of people
Yes.
do lean in that direction. And I have come to see perfectionism as a very dangerous category of procrastination. Not everybody leans in that direction, but the people who do really, I think, suffer from a feeling of that everything is under review and everything, the options are constrained. Like there just aren't that many options for performance or
Mm,
productivity when you're aiming for that one notch of performance, for that one designation. And that not only is that performance constrained, but every other performance after that needs to fall under this feeling of stress that if if I don't get near that perfect performance, I can't release it. And then you've got other really big problems because talk about to-do lists that never end. You
mm,
get the stress of not only not performing to your own expectations, but having the whole pile up of things that are looming when you're trying to come
yes.
across as being perfect. And then it of course affects your identity because you're presenting yourself as being somewhat perfect to other people, which is also stressful. So
Right. And then you
the
fall into imposter syndrome and all of that as well, right?
yeah, I think one of the best tips that I can offer people in terms of bringing ease back into your body and your brain and your ways of being productive is to search for the avenues and the roads ahead of you that are calming? What are the
Mm,
thoughts that you can say to yourself that will actually make you excited to work or make you feel like it's doable or not scare you? Maybe that's a minimum that we can
mm,
actually just kind of clean up our thinking, as I know you teach other people to do, that we want to be more of a coach to ourselves rather than
yeah.
a taskmaster or a police officer or a
Mm,
mean parent or a mean professor. And I have been a psychologist at a major university, and students are actually afraid of their administrators, deans, professors. And
mm,
I think that's my first way in to connect with those clients, is to indicate that's actually not likely the actual relationship that exists between the two of you. And, these stories that we tell, they're so powerful and we're so good at dramatizing and terrorizing ourselves, and that's all habit, right?
yeah. And so we tell it, you were saying this before we turned on the microphone that it's we're telling ourselves the scary story versus the doable story, the story, the kinder story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and if we're scaring ourselves, it makes sense that we would run. It would make sense that we procrastinate, even though intellectually we know this is the wrong direction. That's why
Hmm.
I believe procrastination is still a word that people are reluctant to utter, that people don't want to talk about this because it makes no sense. And everyone knows they shouldn't procrastinate. We all know we shouldn't smoke. We all know we shouldn't overeat. But yet these habits are there for us to ease our pain. They're
Yeah.
they're they're there to kind of calm us down when we're feeling like we can't calm ourselves down. And I think it's our chosen role, you and I,
Mm,
to show people some very doable routes to self-soothe, to self-regulate, to see the situation in a way that's filled with possibility, positive
mhm,
possibility, right? We
mhm.
don't have to be afraid of the judgment of other people. We can just submit our essays, right? We can be detached and actually be fine. I
Yeah.
think most of us are dreaming up situations that never happen, that are terrible, that are scary, and the good news is that oftentimes therapists aren't scarable. Most times we've just heard these stories and we've seen the outcomes, and the outcomes are not as scary as the delivery of the story. And I think one of the best lessons I've learned is that there's a real difference between what's actually happening and the stories we're
Mm,
telling ourselves. And
mm,
and when you see that we're just generating stories all day long, we can't really help ourselves. But if we just try to craft our stories in a way that really suit our best functioning, we're just going to have better results. I do believe that's
right.
the case.
So if we were like, if we were going to look at these mistakes that we're making one by one, what would be mistake number one that I'm making with my productivity?
I would say number one is very basic, and that is that we assume that delay is going to be helpful to us. And I
Oh,
can immediately give you 1,000 reasons why delay isn't going to be helpful in the
right.
end.
But that makes so much sense that we would think that. Is it letting ourselves off the hook and not in a bad way? It's not like but it's that survival mechanism of like, this is so painful that if I put this off, I'm going to be in relief. Is that
Yes.
it?
So I feel, as I'm listening to you ask the question, my thought was, I think we all know thought wise that it doesn't make sense, but feeling wise it's a perfect fit,
Yes.
that it really fills the need that we have in that moment, that the pain of feeling like we're going to disappoint ourselves or somebody else is too much to handle and focus on the task at hand at the same time. And that, I think, is just, it's just a human experience. We've all gone through this, and we've all found ourselves kind of rising rising in the ranks and improving, and then hitting a space where we're just in something that's challenging, where we're really experimenting, we're really learning about a topic that we really don't know anything about, and
Hmm.
needing to perform and needing to produce. And it is scary, but running and delaying, as
Hmm.
I've worked with clients, I've seen how basically any other option that you can choose will be more helpful, right?
But I totally get that. I mean, I could see it from a habit standpoint because I do it. Like I'm like, let me just put that off because then I will get more organized. I will get behind it more. I get, like, and I hear it all the time from clients as well. Uh, and I could feel like that feels almost like, do you think it's becomes a pattern of behavior? So it's not just like, oh, well, let me delay this, but it's like we feel like we almost have to delay because we're fulfilling a pattern.
Yes, my own belief and theory is that those of us who have experienced really severe, really chronic procrastination are the people who have already experienced stress and negative self-thoughts at a very deep and intense level. So it's kind of a familiar space. It's like walking into a room that, you used to
It's
live in.
comfortable.
It's
Yeah.
really familiar. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this. And even though everybody's waiting for you outside that room, you're just like, well, this is my home. It's okay, really.
Yeah. Interesting. So fascinating. But that makes sense. So your that so what would be the opposite that we would do then? So how would we start to break that little
Okay,
pattern?
so one tip that I share with people is that you just don't want to stop. I think
Hmm.
coming to a full physical stop, uh,
Hmm.
i- and running, I'm going to include running away, going in the other direction as part of that stop, just makes the whole system burdened, because then you
Hmm.
have to find that whole restarting mechanism of convincing yourself that this is what you're going to do next, that it's
Hmm.
doable, that you have the time, that you have the brain power, that you have the time before the deadline too, right? That there's enough
Hmm.
time to do this. And that all is willpower involved. And as soon as you stop, it's just a whole other level of energy that you need to bring onto the
Get
scene to
back.
get yourself restarted. So I'm going to say, instead of stopping, divert. You can divert and keep yourself in the game somehow. Divert a little bit, but come back 3 minutes later, 5 minutes later, just not 5 hours later. You just want to
Right.
say, I need a breather, but I'm not giving up on myself, right? We're staying in the game. There's no
Hmm.
reason to run from this game. You wouldn't start as a baseball player on a team and then say, like, I'm cutting out at the third inning. You just go through, even though you might be losing. And we have so many different analogies where you
Right.
just know, because of expectations and because your own drive to see yourself succeed, you would not just stop. You wouldn't stop in the
Hmm.
middle. And
Hmm.
I also believe that people have to learn, I think, tolerance of feelings of frustration, that just because you
So
feel
true.
just because you feel frustrated doesn't mean something's dangerous or going to really threaten you. Oh, and that it's still doable. Like, in the end,
Mm.
this process is doable for you. So start to look at those negative feeling states
Hmm.
as transient, part of maybe a productivity process even, but
Right.
not things that will tank you and make you feel like you've got nothing, right?
Right.
That's a
Oh, I
state
love that.
that we should
That so
really avoid.
you're reframing that feeling to maybe be a more see it as a more powerful feeling. Like like you said, this is part of my process, or this is that's a feeling of courage, or it's a feeling of uh it's a bridge into what I'm really going to be doing.
Yeah. Like saying to yourself, well, duh, this is obvious that I would feel frustrated doing this.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I feel frustrated? But that doesn't mean I'm going to turn around and walk out the door. I
Right.
just feel frustrated right now.
Right. And it's so true. I mean, that's the same with weight management. It's like we have to sit with tough feelings in order to be resilient, in order to keep moving forward. And the more you do it, the more used you get to it, and the less those feelings stop you. They just are part of who you are, like when you're working through something.
Yeah. And we both work with patients who will argue for the argument that, like, I'm not resilient, like I can't do this kind of thing. But I
Yeah.
always think like there's got to be, maybe I haven't come up with the right tone or scenario or argument or conversation to help the person see it quite yet. But I always believe in my heart of heart, there has to be a way, right? Because it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense that any of us would just be stuck, would just literally be stuck. I no longer
Yeah.
believe in the concept of actually being stuck. And when you
Good.
when you make that mental shift, in some ways you leave more room open for other ideas to come in. And that's always, I think, helpful.
All right. So what's number two? That, I mean, that was really great. That was so enlightening. I love that idea of that delaying isn't really going to help you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just really make that your banner, your banner on your desktop, right? No delay is worth it.
Uh,
Number two, I would say is I see this a lot, and I think I do this oftentimes too, when I'm not watching closely, is not being very, very clear on what your goal is.
mm,
And this could
love
be
it.
in the kitchen. This could be for your week. This could be how you want a certain conversation to go, right? We can
Mhm.
know, okay, I need to have this interview. And I've seen it all over the place with job interviews, that there's a feeling that you're the lesser person of the two,
Mhm.
and that somehow you're vulnerable to whatever's going to happen, instead of
Mhm.
going in specifically with an idea of how you want to show up, with an idea of how you want to, what you want to get out of it, and how you want to
Mhm.
get out of it, right? You don't want to come out of any conversation feeling like you've lost a sense of yourself, you've
Right.
been made vulnerable. We I think should try to do everything we can to make sure we're showing up as fully as possible. And that can be maybe your first mini training for developing a goal for yourself. Like, what would my fullest performance look like? And just have that
Mhm.
as an idea. Even if you don't quite get there, it's a good way to lead yourself into any situation. Instead of thinking, how am I going to fall flat on my face, which is a very
Yeah.
common fear, you're going to think to yourself, well, what if I surprised even myself? What if I went beyond my past performances? Let's think in that way. Let's try that on.
So are you're thinking about, like, with when you say goal, to guide your mind to like the outcome and that feeling, right? So it's not just the goal, like I will get this job, but it's like I'm going to feel like I held my power during that job, that I connected with the person, that I contributed to that person's life, maybe. I think that's so brilliant. And so then holding that feeling and maybe getting a little more specific with yourself, like, or if you were going to sit down and write the term papers, like, I'm going to feel proud of what I've said, and I've done it. And can you put a timeline on it? Do you think it helps to put a timeline, like I'm going to complete it in 2 hours? I can give myself an hour break, or not an hour break, but 5 minute break at it's breaking it down too helps as well with regards to the goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You make me think of our mutual friend and acquaintance, Melanie Moore, who
Uh-huh.
is a manifestation and vision boarding expert.
Hmm.
And she helps people get what they desire.
Right.
And I've learned so much from her. And one thing that comes to mind when I think of her was one of the vision boards that she did for herself included the outfit that she was going to wear during her book launch, her future book launch.
Oh,
And
cool.
this was, of course, before the book was ever written or
Right.
completed, that she's thinking far into the future, presumably, and thinking about what she's going to wear. And I always thought, I don't remember the dress or the outfit, but I remember the concept that someone could really see themselves in the scene as having completed it. And I use that example because I think it helps us to learn learn the concept, but also because we're not just setting these goals for ourselves, we're setting them for our brains, right? It's not
Hmm.
just for the task that we're saying, oh, I would like to do this then, and here's the schedule. We're guiding our brains towards how we want to end up. And our brain is set up to make sure that it is
Going to
guiding
do
us
that
and
for us. Right.
giving us nudges and making our energy go in that direction as best as possible. I believe that. I think I've seen my own
Mhm.
system act in that way when I've been clear. And that's why vision boards can be so magical. Some people don't believe in them. I personally do, because they really compress the time that it takes to access those goals. I've seen for myself them work magically, but also
Mhm.
I've been involved in the process. I've created the goal. I've specified that I want this and not all the other things that I could have put on that
And
board.
that's almost as important, right? What you don't want,
Yes.
but what you do. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be very, I would say I am a big fan of vision boards. I do believe in them. And I also believe that you have to be very intentional about what you put on, because the universe will help you in all sorts of ways, in funny, funny ways.
I agree with you. Oh my goodness. But that I love that Melanie, because we both know Melanie, that of course she would think of what she's wearing because she's very stylish and she's very put together. So of course that would
Yes.
make total sense. So that is, and what you're saying is we're giving our brain a little roadmap. We're giving it that little Siri, how do I get to this place? Oh, you take a right turn, then a left turn, then you do this. Your brain does when and with the reticular activation system, if we feel the feeling like I want to feel this feeling, this is where I'm going, then the brain will filter out the other stuff and get you where you want to go. So that's great. So we're not clear, and we're delaying, and we're not clear with our goals. Okay. So the opposite is to have a clear goal and to keep going, even if it means treading water, taking a 5-minute break, but getting right back. Okay. So I'm with you. I'm there. Now, what's the third piece, the third way that I'm getting in my own way here with productivity?
Okay. I'm sorry I keep derailing us from the orderly
No, no,
progression of things,
please
but
derail away.
okay, I want to add to that second piece
Oh, please, please. Yeah, if there's more, please. We
of
want
not
all the gold.
because when we're not clear on our goals, what happens? We leave ourselves open for anything. And what happens when we leave ourselves open for anything? I think the probability of messy things happening kind of
Mm,
increases. And I use the example of having like people always talk about their spare bedrooms as that's a place where the junk accumulates. And that's because there oftentimes isn't really a specific function given to
or that
that
spare
second
bedroom.
room. And I actually don't have a spare bedroom that I use in that way, I guess now, but in a recent cohort of clients that I've taken through a clutter challenge, I kept hearing the second bedroom. And I kept wondering what's happening in these rooms. And it's really the indecision that leaves us open for anything, right? If you're not
Oh my,
deciding, the sports equipment goes in, and then the terrarium, and then
right.
the extra cooking
So
utensils,
true.
and then you don't know what's happening in there. And then
Yeah.
it's a much harder space to navigate. And I think that's a good analogy for
It's
why it's important to be very specific about your goals.
Yes, absolutely. We don't have a second or a spare bedroom, but we do have an attic, and we built it. And we have an old house, and we had somebody come in and put floorboards down in the attic. And it has become my husband's, like, oh my gosh, you can't even go up there. It's like you open it up. Well, we've worked on now, we are organizing it, but It was insane. So yeah, I totally agree. And so I think of my attic when I think of an unspecific goal, uh, just getting lost in all the clutter. Ah, that's great. So now, number three,
Number three,
last but
thank
not
you.
least.
Number three is a really important one. And
Mhm.
I believe you, and I know Melanie, we're really cued into language patterns and how
Mhm.
we speak to ourselves. And I think the third mistake is that people see projects and challenges as being hard and labeling
Mhm.
them as being hard. And I think that is uh a mistake. Easily, I would say that because we could easily just call the same thing. It's it's an event, it's a challenge, it's the next thing on my to-do list, it's what I'm doing on Tuesday instead of calling it hard. And I think even saying the word hard for me these days makes me
Mm.
have a heavier feeling. It's interesting how energy is attached to these words, and we want to keep ourselves really clear of words like difficult, impossible, should, hard, can't.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
when you have that awareness that those are trigger words and loaded
Mhm.
words and unnecessary words and words that are part of our stories about how we can't do things, you'll probably be a lot better at keeping your language free and clear of that loaded stuff. And so then you'll start saying, oh, I can, I will, this
Mm.
will happen, this seems very doable. You start seeing the possibilities again, and you can see the theme, right? We're just going to be more open. We're not running. When we're running, we can't
Yeah.
see the possibilities. We're only trying to take care of our bodies and our safety, and we want to just move beyond that level of performance. I think we all have those desires of really shining. I think that's in each of us, whether we realize it or not. And I love to see people recover quickly. Like this
Mm.
is not a long, it was a years long process for me, but it does not have to be for you. I think there's a lot of information now since my early years of recovery from this kind of dread and frustration. Now you have TikTok. I think you turn on TikTok and you find an inspirational story or something to lighten your own perspective, or a coach who's sharing a useful tip. There's so many different resources that we have access to now.
Yeah, it's true. And it is so true that those words just are like these big roadblocks in front of us. And just a simple shift of a word can open up your mind. I mean, again, I see all three of these as just different ways to use your mind more effectively, to move towards getting whatever it is that you want that in that area of productivity. Where do you see people? I'm just kind of curious. So where do you see uh, people? Where do they beat themselves up in this process the most? I love the sound of your dog. I'm just saying hello, doggy, in the background.
Thank you.
My dog will probably start barking soon too. That's so they'll mutually say hello to each other.
Okay. Well, Leonardo da Vinci says hi back. So thank you.
Oh, I love that.
So
It's a very
where
important dog.
oh, thank you. Where do people beat themselves up the most is the
Yeah,
question?
in that process, is it like in the beginning, like in that first stage where they're like, "Oh gosh, I can't do this, and I'm gonna delay," or is it?
I I think my first response is that we can beat ourselves up for how we're brushing our teeth in the morning, that that
Right.
there really is no space that is really protected from our inner
Mhm.
voices when our inner voices really want to take care of us in that kind of
Yeah.
way. But the way I said that is on purpose because I think you want to get to a point where you see your functioning, the way you use your language, the way you think, the way you react to things, is your body acting in its highest regard for you, that it is
Mhm.
so oriented towards your highest good whatever
Hmm.
that means for you, but that it's not wired for failure. It's not wired to let you down. And so we want to just support that beautiful system and that beautiful machine and this beautiful opportunity that we have a good connection with ourselves and a good
Yeah.
connection with our operating system. It really is it's a very precious, very genius operating system that we each possess. And let's take care of that system is really all of this is about.
Oh, so amazing. Now, I have a question for you about COVID. Do you believe that COVID and what we went through has impacted productivity, procrastination, and I mean, I think I've seen it, so I don't know. Have you recognized that in your students and your patients?
I believe it has. I think that's from my own observation of myself. And I mean, even just from a physical standpoint, I became so much more sedentary. I think we were all
Yes.
forced to be more sedentary in a way, even if you were active before, that
Mhm.
we were literally forced to be less physically active. And I think that has likely a great effect on how we're thinking and how we're experiencing the world and each other. I do feel that I think we're in an awkward phase. That's how I think about it, where we're trying to reconnect with a more vibrant, physically active, mentally active, emotionally and socially active part of ourselves. But it's almost like, where has it gone? Because we're not fully maybe even permitted to be like that. And things have kind of the way we socialize has changed so much
It
because of
has.
social media, because of lockdowns and COVID. So I think we've gone through very dramatic changes. I think because of that, we should be even more keyed into being kind to ourselves and allowing
Hmm.
ourselves room to rest, room to think and feel and grieve and love and enjoy the day-to-day
Hmm.
things that we might feel stressed over when we don't take the time to think, oh, I need to really take care of myself in a deeper way.
Yeah. Oh, you have I just love the way you speak and you're so compassionate. And
Thank you.
they have so much to offer. I know you have you have tell us about you have an event coming up that's free that people can participate in. Will you tell us a little about this? I think they're going to be really excited.
Yes, thank you so much. I've run the Power Productivity Boot Camp for the past, I want to say, at least 2 years, maybe even three.
Wow.
And it's been really fun to operate. It is a combination of live trainings and live coaching calls, and then a party at the end, so that you really get the experience that you've made a transition, even in this free program, that you meet other people who might be struggling with the same things that you have a hard time navigating, or you're curious about how to change your habits. And I found that people come into this boot camp from around the world with different experiences, different ages, different niches, different stages of life. And I love that, because I find that if you're attracted to my work, I'm attracted to what you need me to help you with. And so it really is a collaborative, positive environment. And I do teach a lot about the mindset of successful performance and how to really make sure you get that consistency of your performance into your life. I think that's one of the goals. And I invite all of Rita's listeners to consider joining in. The program starts March 21st, and it is a week-long program. You just need to come as you are, and I'll take care of the rest. And the URL to register is procrastinationcoach.com/Rita. Again, it's procrastinationcoach.com/Rita. And if you have any questions for me, you can just email me or find me on social media. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. You can direct message me there. I'm procrastination coach all over the place.
I love it. And I know because I've had other students and clients take your free workshops and have worked with you, and they love it. They get so mad, and you deliver so much. I mean, you think it's a free thing, but you deliver so much. And Christine is working with you live during this. It's so generous of you.
Oh, thank
So.
you. Thanks for the compliment and the feedback. And I really do feel that live energy exchange is powerful for both me and the people I work with. We all change and grow together. I think that's the best way to do it.
Oh, it's so great. Well, this has been fantastic. It's always great to have you on. I will look forward to having you on again. We have way more to talk about, but
We do.
I really, those three specific things, I hope you all have them in your mind now because I have them in mind. We're going to not delay. I'm just going to do a quick recap. We are going to set clear goals and not delay, and then we are going to tell ourselves a more powerful story. We're going to get rid of that language. It's hard. It's impossible. I can't do that. And maybe I don't know. People have started to get these little. I mean, I know I can put post-its of the positive words I want to have, like on in my room or in the space. But people have those. What are they? Lights now that say things like focus and maybe
Yes.
having one of those in your office or in your space would be a great thing too.
I've
Well,
thought
Dr.
about that, but I have enough trouble with the ring light and staring into that all day long. So I don't think I want another
You're
neon
right.
light.
Well, the ring light is enough. You are right. I love it. Well, maybe the ring light can just symbolize something like positivity or openness or something. Okay. This has been so great, Dr. Christine. Thank you so much for coming on and being with us. And please, procrastinationcoach.com/Rita, go get into her productivity boot camp, power productivity boot camp that's starting on March 21st. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Rita. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lee. That was so great to have you on again. I can't wait to have you on in the future. And don't forget to sign up for Dr. Lee's Power Productivity Boot Camp. It's a 5-day live training event, free. Go to procrastinationcoach.com/Rita, or you can find the link in the show notes. Signups are going on now, so hurry. The doors are not open for long. And remember also, leave us a review. Take that picture, sign up on your favorite podcast, wherever you are. You'll see a review link. Hit a review, make a review, take a picture of the review, send it to me, Rita at shiftweightmastery.com. That link is in the show notes. And then you will get a coupon for a free hypnosis download, and you will get entered into the contest for the free enrollment in the Shift Weight Mastery process, the spring online Shift Weight Mastery process coming up in May. So I will look forward to seeing your reviews, and have an amazing week. And remember that the key, and probably the only key to unlocking the door of the weight struggle, is inside you. So keep listening and find it. Do you want to dive deeper into the mindset of long-term weight release? Head on over to www.shiftweightmastery.com. That's www.shiftweightmastery.com, where you'll find numerous tools and resources to help you unlock your mind for permanent weight release, tips, strategies, and more. And be sure to check the show notes to learn more about my book, From Fat to Thin Thinking: Unlock Your Mind for Permanent Weight Loss.